Sharon Graham was watching, thankfully, and the Environment Secretary said it was such a nonsense, I think were his words, to say that the government was responsible for holding up these negotiations. Sharon Graham joins us now, delighted to say. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Give us your view on this.
Well, look, I mean, I think what was just said there by the Minister is really tells you why there are workers turning away from Labour in droves. Let me just tell you again what this dispute is about. This dispute is about workers on the bins in Birmingham who woke up one morning and were told that they would be taking up to an £8,000 pay cut. Now, I don't know anybody who could take that amount. Almost a quarter of their pay would be removed. And we have been told for weeks and weeks and weeks by the government there is a fair and reasonable offer on the table that dealt with double-digit lump sums and no one had to lose any money. And that offer does not exist. I've been in ACAS talks and I've asked for that offer to be given to me so I can see it, and it does not exist. They are now scrambling to put an offer together, but that now has to go through the government commissioners. It's a total and utter shambles.
Can I just touch on that point? Because it is fascinating hearing both sides and the huge gap between how both sides are framing it. The Birmingham City Council do say that anybody who would, if they stayed doing exactly the same job, would lose that pay, have been offered a different job with the same pay, albeit it's a different role. Is that much true?
Well, look, what happened, there was months of negotiations and the government came out and said, and the leader of the council came out and said, and by the way, he's still not been in any of the negotiations to date, that there was a fair and reasonable offer on the table that included two things: a lump sum, a double-digit lump sum, and sideways move that meant nobody had to lose any money. Both of those things have not been put down on a piece of paper for us to give and put to our members. In the ACAS talks on the 1st of May, I said, can you give me this offer that the government is talking about? Angela Rayner spoke about it, the PM spoke about it, the leader of the council spoke about it, none of whom were in the room. And effectively they say, well, look, those were thoughts. We're not quite there yet, but we will put something to you by the 8th of May. We're now the 21st of May, and we still don't have the offer. And what the managing director who did come into the talks, Joanne Ronnie, has said, is that it needs to go through the government commissioners. Now, that says to me that there has to be sign-off, and we haven't even seen yet what is going to be signed off.
So let's just put the government aside, because I want to come to them specifically in a moment. This is from the Birmingham City Council website. They say all WRCO workers have been offered alternative employment at the same pay, driver training, or voluntary redundancy. Is that a lie from the council on their website today?
Well, we can't tell whether it's a lie or not, because of course they won't put it down in writing to us. So what they're saying is that there was an offer. This is what Angela Rayner had said. This is what the leader of the council had said. That there was an offer that covered a number of areas. One, that the workers who would be moved over to have a sideways move with no loss of pay. That is not written down anywhere. We have not been given that guarantee. Two, that they could take a lump sum if they wanted to go in double digits. Not been written down anywhere, no guarantee. And three, that they could do training, and that training would be on a driver's grade. Not written down anywhere. You then have the drivers who are also now being told that they will lose £8,000 in pay and being offered absolutely nothing. The issue here is that these workers are the scapegoats for bad decisions by the council. They are trying to push down pay of these workers so that they can deal with their huge debt. And it's totally and utterly unacceptable. They need to give this deal to the union so that we can see whether it's good enough for our members. And I think it's important to say to your viewers, you know, when you hear a Deputy Prime Minister say, when you hear a leader of a council say, there's a fair and reasonable offer on the table, the assumption is that we have that offer in writing and it sits with us. We don't have that offer in writing.
I'm going to come on to the Deputy PM and the government in one moment. Last question specifically about the council. I'm going to read out this line again. All WRCO workers have been offered alternative employment at the same pay, driver training or voluntary redundancy. You say you haven't been given that in writing by them. It's obviously in writing on their website. If those exact words were taken from their website and handed to you today. Is that deal done? Will we have a...
No, because obviously it's missing the bits that Angela Rayner had said, and the leader of the council. Let's just keep the leader of the council for a second, because you're going to come to that in a moment. It's missing all of the stuff that had been said around it. First of all, that they were able to take a double-digit lump sum, that they'd moved sideways with no loss of pay. There is no guarantee that the sideways move has got no loss of pay. They are looking to downgrade that grade as well. And also it's missing the drivers, that the drivers have now been told that they're going to have £8,000 loss of pay. Look, this is not the way you do negotiation. I've negotiated for 35 years with CEOs across multiple companies. When you're in a negotiation, you have the decision makers in the room. You agree with the union side, what is it broadly that we're looking at? They give a deal and an offer to us, and we take it back to our members in writing. They don't do it on the airways and then not put it in writing. The clear situation here is that we have not had an offer in writing from the council, and now, additionally, that it's going to have to go through the government commissioners. That is totally and utterly unacceptable.
Yeah, I guess it's just clear from your answer to that question that it's not just whether something's been put in writing or not, that there's still a lot of things that the two sides are disagreeing about. Let's move on from the council specifically, who is obviously the main party you have to negotiate with, and touch on the government as a whole. Because, Birmingham City Council is bankrupt, which does bring in to the possibility of discussions of the central government taking control in some form. Is that something you think needs to happen? And do you think the ultimate arbiter is the central government, or do you accept that currently the main negotiating partner is the council?
Well, look, the reality, just to sort of go on the point you touched on at the end there, it's not really about anything in writing or we're far apart. What I'm saying is that we were told there was a fair and reasonable offer covering lump sum in double digits, and of course, nobody had to lose any money on a sideways move. The offer hasn't been given to us. So they've already said it in the public arena. Why is that not on paper? Now, as far as the government debt is concerned, this is a conversation, and indeed I wrote to Angela Rayner about this, because I'm really concerned that the debt of councils up and down the country, this council has a £3 billion debt. You can't use workers as a way to pay your debt. You can't just put down pay as a way to pay your debt. And I've asked, why can't this debt be restructured? And why can't some of the over the usual interest rate that's been charged, they are charging above the gilt rate and over the usual interest rate on some of the loan, why can't that be taken off? And why can't there be a restructure of this debt? Because if Birmingham City Council are going to try this tact of pushing down workers' pay to pay off debt, then other councils will do the same. And as the leader of the Unite, I am not going to allow workers to be used in this way and to have their pay cut in this way.
Sharon Graham, I'm afraid we're out of time, but it was really great to have you on this morning. And obviously we had the government's perspective earlier on with the Environment Secretary, Steve Reed. Sharon Graham there from Unite.